Hello, I'm David Ames, and along with Alana Roberts and Kathy Klein, I've been working to help set up some of this training for the 8th grade curriculum. This video is going to be looking at scaffolding through the Common Core learning standards, and the learning target is I can understand the importance of how the learning standards are scaffolded. In this video, we're going to be taking a single standard, and we're going to be tracing it all the way from kindergarten to the senior year of high school. I'm going to recommend that you open up your window to full screen view, because when we look at some of the standards, it's rather difficult to see them if your window is small. Okay, the standard that we've selected to work with is Anchor Standard for Writing number 1. Students write arguments to support claims and an analysis of substantive topics or texts using valid reasoning and relevant and sufficient evidence. We're going to go right to the very beginning, to kindergarten. And so from page 26 of the Common Core Standards, we're going to look at Writing Standard number 1. When you're looking at the standards for grades kindergarten through 8, the standards are presented by individual grade level. When you move on to grade levels 9 through 12, they're presented by grade bands. It's rather nice when you're looking at it this way, because you can see 3 grade levels at once, and you can see how the individual standard is developed over the course of those 3 years. Now, looking at the Anchor Standard, write arguments to support claims and an analysis of substantive topics or texts using valid reasoning and relevant and sufficient evidence. That's a pretty big standard for kindergarten, but this standard is shown for kindergartners when they use a combination of drawing, dictating, and writing to compose opinion pieces in which they tell a reader the topic or the name of the book they're writing about and state an opinion or preference about the topic or book. For example, my favorite book is ... When the students move on to first grade, mastery is indicated when they write, they have to write, not draw or tell, opinion pieces in which they introduce the topic, but it's a little bit more demanding because in first grade they must supply a reason for the opinion and they have to provide some sense of closure. Grade 2 pushes this a little bit further because now they must supply reasons, plural, and they're being asked to use transitional, linking words. For example, because, and, also, to connect their opinion with the reasons for it. Moving then to grade level 3, you'll notice when you look on page 28 of your standards to grade levels 3, 4, and 5, that the standard is immediately broken down into specific criteria, A, B, C, and D. So you know that the state is expecting more from children at this level. The standard states for grade level 3, children write opinion pieces on topics or texts supporting a point of view with reasons. Let's look specifically at A. In grade level 3, they have to introduce the topic or text they're writing about, state an opinion, and create an organizational structure that lists reasons. That's further developed than what second graders were expected to do. In grade level 4, they have to create an organizational structure in which related ideas are grouped to support the writer's purpose. And in grade level 5, those ideas have to be logically grouped to support the writer's purpose. B across the board is related to support. They're giving reasons in the 3rd grade, but in the 4th and 5th grade, their reasons have to be supported by facts and details. In the 5th grade, further, logically ordered reasons. C is showing you how the transitional word vocabulary that students have should be developing. In grade level 3, because, therefore, since, for example, should become a part of the student's vocabulary in grade level 4, for instance, in order to, in addition, in grade level 5, consequently, specifically. The standards do not specify after grade level 5 which transitional words or phrases you should try to instill in your children and help them to make a part of their vocabulary, but transitions continue to be a part of the standards. Item D across the board is related to a concluding statement or section. In grade level 4, it needs to be related to the opinion presented. Grade level 5 as well, of course. Moving up to middle school, grade levels 6, 7, and 8 have an additional criterion added, and that is item D, establish and maintain a formal style. And that is the same grade levels 6, 7, and 8. If you look at item A, in grade level 6, they're introducing claims and organizing the reasons and evidence clearly. In grade level 7, they have to acknowledge alternate or opposing claims. In grade level 8, they have to acknowledge and distinguish their claim from alternate or opposing claims. So students are being asked to engage more in a dialogue. B is related to evidence. It's becoming further developed than in the 5th grade because now they must use credible sources. They have to demonstrate an understanding of the topic or text. This is very important because they're expected to give the support for their argument using evidence that they understand from the text that they have read. C does not specify specific transitional words or phrases, but in 7th and 8th grade, you're being instructed that your students must use them to create cohesion and clarify relationships. Let's move on to high school. Okay, you'll notice here at the high school level that the standards are presented by grade band. Grades 9 and 10 are banded together. Grades 11 and 12 are banded together. The second thing I want to point out to you on this page is that you have something highlighted in yellow. It's highlighted in yellow because it's not a part of the National Common Core. It is something that New York State has added to the Common Core. So it is an expectation for our students that is not a part of the National Common Core. Explore and inquire into areas of interest to formulate an argument. The demands for high school are pretty rigorous. In the 9th and 10th grade, students must introduce precise claims. In 11th and 12th grade, they must introduce precise, knowledgeable claims. They must create an organization that establishes clear relationships among claims, counterclaims, reasons, and evidence. And in 11th and 12th grade, they have to further establish the significance of the claims. B is related to evidence and support, but one thing that is new in the high school grade levels is the students must supply evidence for each while pointing out the strengths and limitations of both in a manner that anticipates the audience's knowledge level and concerns. In 11th and 12th grade, the audience's values and possible biases. So students need to become more aware of the readership, the fact that they're not writing in a void, that people are reading what they're writing. In D, in the 8th grade, students were to establish and maintain a formal style. When they move into high school, they have to further have an objective tone while attending to the norms and conventions of the discipline in which they are writing. So the students need to be much more aware of the situations in which they are writing and how these affect the way that they write. The command that students possess when they have mastery in the 12th grade is pretty impressive. But if you think about it, even back in kindergarten, when the students were stating an opinion about a book that they had read, they were, in a sense, making a claim. And so they were starting off on that ladder that would take them to this ultimate mastery. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you very much for watching.